Good morning, everyone. My name is Hikarji Bennett, and I am unfortunately a Noble student at Baker College Prep. I know that one of the elephants in the room might be my presence concerning the fact that a decision among you all was to make this meeting for quote-unquote some reason during school and work hours. I was prepared to talk about that should I be asked, but it doesn't seem that the multitude of you are all ready to talk about why missing parts of a uniform and a certain color in our hair is prioritized over education. So when I find a logical reason behind that, then you are more than welcome to wonder and ask me. I came here to speak on a number of things, and the first thing that I want to address is the hypocrisy of Noble. I have fought and waited to stand here to be able to speak to you from the minds of hundreds of students, hundreds of teachers, and thousands of bystanders. One of the main core values of the Noble Network are humility and also self-awareness. And with my observance of Noble over the years, especially when a student decides to speak up against certain injustices pushed by Noble, there has been none of that. I have stood by and watched while a multitude of my fellow students have been silenced when sharing their negative experiences with Noble. I have watched staff members' eyes into their depths until their words somehow twisted into something positive, something prideful, something that'll put more money into the pockets of you sitting here today. When I heard the outspokenness of the soon silence in my first year of Baker College Prep, I was confused until I experienced the looming practice of institutionalization that Noble thrust you into under the grotesque curtain of culture. It is ironic that you would choose the word culture when students of color are stripped of it, when styles and their haircuts are required to be colored in with a permanent black marker filled with chemicals, or students with so-called fantasy colors of shades of red, green, blue, etc. are required to stay put in a room all day, missing valuable hours of education. Next to a student missing a belt, who is next to a student missing a precisely correct pair of dress shoes. Silencing me with the few words of discipline and modeling professionalism no longer holds power in this realm of frustration that I know you can feel underneath you. I do not understand why, from the depths of 18 campuses, probably hundreds of students are stripped of education that their parents and guardians fuel with money because of a dress code issue. One of the reasons why uniform is implemented into schools, especially Noble, is to rid of any distraction that outside clothing will bring. Which I find ironic when someone comes knocking on the door and pulls you from a test because of a missing belt, which of course adds up to demerits, ladies and gentlemen. The same demerits that, when added up, no matter the reasoning behind them, stripped Yalissa Allen, a former student and senior at Baker College Prep with a cumulative GPA of 3.5 with academic scholarships and grants from Elmhurst, University of Illinois in Chicago, Springfield, Urbana, Augustina, Lake Forest, and Columbia College, Chicago, of the chance to display optimism, grit, pride, and integrity. I know you know those 4 words. And it all makes it more ridiculous because I just named the 4 core values of Baker College Prep. Optimism, grit, pride, and integrity.
Once again, thanks for your comments. Next up, we have Christina Verdos.
Let him speak.
I am not going to generalize because I know that this has just happened to other Noble students across Noble campuses. This is, excuse me?
All right, 2 minutes is up. We need to move on to the next speaker. Policy that is in place.
This is for the students who had to leave and graduate elsewhere. For the students who had to, after 4 long years, please respect my personal space, sir. This is for the students to get their diploma handed to them at the end of the summer. For some of my fellow students here today who are afraid of coming and speaking at this meeting because of the noticeably rational fear of the chance of their graduation being stripped away. I wonder while writing this, do I have enough time to talk about how, in effect of redlining, Noble schools up north are better than Noble schools on the south and west sides of Chicago concerning academic and athletic equipment? How many female Noble students have, after unexpectedly meeting their monthly cycling class, had to bleed through their pants while waiting for a bathroom escort? How every student missing a piece of their uniform, whether being transferred to in-school detention or already in in-school detention, are hidden when a visitor comes? How at Baker College Prep, after many shootings outside the school and a couple of years after a friend of mine was shot in front of the school, we are, no matter the circumstances, required not to loiter in the corridor? I noticed how grotesque and incredibly dubious it was when I heard the gunshots being fired right in front of the window I sat in front of while attending a youth leadership council meeting in Bowen Magna High School that my school shares a building with. I realized that when the principal let me sit and wait for my ride inside the school, while Baker College Prep on the other hand would have escorted me out of the building. How afraid teachers are to unionize. Maybe, just maybe, that you spend more time addressing these issues from schools that many of you have used your privilege to invest in and build instead of patting your own backs for a job well done. Excuse me. I would like to close this speech of mine with an infamous quote. I learned early that crying out in protest could accomplish things. My older brothers and sisters had started school when sometimes they would come in and ask for a buttered biscuit or something, and my mother impatiently would tell them no. But I would cry and make a fuss until I got what I wanted. I remember how well my mother asked me why I couldn't be a nice boy like Wilfred. But I would think to myself that Wilfred, for being so nice and quiet, often stayed hungry. So early in life, I had learned that if you want something, you had better make some noise. Malcolm X. Thank you.